Hello, I'm Maya Menon. Welcome to our newClear Talks, which is your weekly dose of stuff that should matter, with a particular focus on a core issue. Today, Yash Srivastav, Ming Thang, and I bring you the Manipur story to explore why is Manipur burning and what could you do about it. So sit back, relax, and tune in to this interesting exploration of the mystical Manipur.
Manipur. We'll be talking about the core issues and how to have solutions for the problem at hand. Also, to work around the walls that have been created by narratives of the past, and the ways to punch through those walls and have a sustainable future full of harmony among people.
Yeah, hi, I'm Min. So my full name is actually Min Thang. So you can just call me Min. So my mother is from Manipur. I am actually not from Manipur, but I have been here. I lived here. And when this violence in Manipur occurred, I was there in my mom's village, and we escaped. And we escaped to Nagaland, and I have a job here, and so that's pretty much what I can introduce about myself. I'm not an expert on anything, but I can share you my views or whatever ground experience that you're looking for. Those I can share, and also my understanding of the history and the politics and all of this behind all of this violence. I have some knowledge in it, so I can share all those as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Min. Continue to stay with us, and Yash as well. For those who are joining us, I'd like to just quickly cover what the topic today is all about. We want to explore the story behind Manipur unrest. It's coming up to 60 days that Manipur is burning, and the people in power are repeatedly being accused of planning, funding, and executing the conflict in Manipur. It is said to have started with a deliberate, coordinated attack by ethnic groups, but with over 130 dead. These are just official figures, unofficial could be more. It is important to attempt to understand this multifaceted problem. At the outset, it's easy to blame people in power who rule Manipur under a double-engine BJP-led government, the state CM Biren Singh and the government of India, Home Minister Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi in Delhi. But the conflict, as I said, is multifaceted. It has also been given a communal color through attacks on religious sites. The last count I know is about 249 churches that have been burned down. And this seems to be further to what might appear as an age-old ethnic conflict for land identity and the imbalance of privileges. But more importantly, today we want to explore if Manipur is a microcosm of what's happening all over India under the BJP rule. In other words, is Manipur a pilot of what we are going to be witnessing in the run-up to the 2024 elections? But before we drill into the main story, it is important that we understand a little bit about Manipur, its ethnicity, its history and geography, and therefore its complexity. Now, ethnically, Manipur has three families. 40% of the population are tribals comprising of Kuki and Naga people who follow the Christian faith, and the remaining 60% are the non-tribal Meiteis who are mostly predominantly Hindus. Geographically, Manipur happens to be the easternmost state of India, sharing a very porous border with Myanmar. The land in the state of Manipur is divided into two entities. I would say, just for ease of understanding, 10% of the state or so is the fertile valley, where most of the population lives in villages and cities like Imphal, whereas the remaining 90% live in the hills and the forest. And of that 90%, a whopping 70% or so is the inhabitable and cultivable forest area, I would say. Now, the tribals can own land in the hills and valleys, but the Meiteis cannot own land in the hills and have to limit themselves to the valleys. But when you look at numbers, the tribals are about 40% or so, and the Meiteis are about 53% or so. The tribals, basically the Kukis and the Nagas that we're talking about. And the Kukis and Nagas are about 25% and 15% as well in terms of numbers. Now, going by numbers alone, the tribals also complain that the Meiteis monopolizes their jobs, politics, and economic power. And the valley, the leaders that are based in the valley, they don't seem to represent much of the interests of the poor and the tribals as such. So that's the basic conflict as well from the ethnic point of view.
A moment of disclaimer at this point. We are not against any religion, caste, or faith. We only strive to advocate peace everywhere. And this ongoing clash, one of the few or one of the many that might be going on in India as we speak, which we are or maybe not aware of. We have to get to the root of these problems. And also, as much as question of Hindu nationalism is predominant in the country, we, some of us who are Hindus here, are more worried about the stature of our religion, which is being trampled as this constant clash arises everywhere with our religion at its center.
Yeah,
Once again, we are not against Hinduism.
Yeah.
We want peace everywhere and we advocate harmony.
Yeah,
Go on.
we need to also understand the history of Manipur a bit, and I'm not going to delve too much into the time of it. But we somewhere around World War I or 1919 is where the British Army had attacked the Cookies. Now, after losing the Anglo-Cookie War, the British evicted them, spreading, and I emphasize the word, spreading a myth that they were land-grabbing nomads. Now, sadly, many still view Cookies as landless refugees today. It's a sad reality. And this refusal of other communities to recognize Cookies and their rights over land further complicates those ethnic relationships that I was referring to. Post-independence, when Manipur integrated with India in 1948, they became a part of the Indian sovereign. The Meiteis were classed as Hindus and were part of the general category, and the tribals were in the scheduled tribe category of our constitutional framework. But again, after Mandal Commission, the Meiteis have been classified as OBCs. There are varying stories around that as well. Now, because the Meiteis have limited land available to them and are higher in numbers from a population perspective, they're now demanding access to the hills for expansion. What seems to have kicked off the recent events seems to be a number of triggers, and I'll just rattle through a few of them. And people who are closer to the matter can also talk about it, especially Min, who is representing his people. But at least at the same time, I don't want to make sure that too much onus is given to what he's saying. He's saying from his perspective at the state. So all of this is under a disclaimer. We are not perpetrating any statements true or false at this point, but we're just placing some facts for consideration. Now, what kicked off the recent set of events seems to be multiple triggers, as I said. The first one is the illegal migrants. Now, the illegal Cookie migrants from across the Burmese or the Myanmar border, now these seem to be cannibalizing state facilities, which leads to a rise in the Cookie population in the state. And the recent eviction of the Cookie villages, which the government said were encroaching on protected forest areas, that, based on a notification some 50 years ago, seemed to have been a trigger, one of the triggers. The government cracked down on illegal opium cultivation, which is the primary occupation and skills of the Cookie. That could be another trigger. Now, the third one could be the access to the untapped natural resources, and I want to deliberate on this, Min, when we talk about it later. The access to untapped natural resources such as teak, oil, minerals that are found in plenty given the Manipur ecology, but also belongs to the tribal land in the hills and the forest area. And the fourth one being the demand of the Meiteis, and the fourth one is the most important one, which is the demand of the Meiteis for the ST status, which is the scheduled tribe status, to be able to help them buy land for expansion. And this has a little bit of history that we all would help if we know that in 2012, the Meiteis approached the courts to demand the ST status. But it was only after the double engine Sarkar came into power in the 2017s and the 18s that this case was revived. And just as late as March 27th, in a one-judge bench from the Manipur High Court, the Manipur High Court asked the state government to send a recommendation to the center on the demand of the ST status by the Meitei community. The riots began just a week after, which was the 3rd of May. And again, this was a solidarity march. It was a tribal solidarity march organized by the Cookies and the Nagas to protest the demand of the Meitei scheduled tribe status. The Anglo-Cookie War Memorial was burnt down. And in a surprising turn of events, the Meitei mobs marched towards the tribals and ambushed them using assault rifles and guns. Now, these are the Meitei mobs. Clearly, there was some retaliatory attacks from both sides. But the situation, it kind of escalated manifold in the last 2 months. We have seen the visuals come up on social media several times. The state police seems to be siding the Meiteis because they seem to be fighting on their side at the stage. The Meiteis were allowed to evacuate in an organized and peaceful manner. Tribals in Imphal were attacked and their houses were torched, including churches and others. Now, if you remember, the tribals are usually not much in Imphal, but there are some well-to-do ones who are in Imphal area. Their houses were particularly targeted and torched. Many tribal women, as well as many women, seem to have been raped, but it is both sides is what is being perpetrated at this point. And many tribals have been beaten to death, butchered, and as well as women and children particularly. And in all this commotion, the Meiteis continue to be safely evacuated for some reason, whereas there are 5,000 tribals languishing in the CRPF camps. The state government clearly has not been able to control the mob. The state of those camps were visible to us when Rahul Gandhi ji visited those camps, and some visuals came out of it, which is where we got to know what is the state of the camp. And they're not, it is, my heart goes out to it, to the pictures that have come out. And there was a statement that Rahul Gandhi claimed in one of his statements was that he was with a bunch of kids, and he did say, "Main in bachon ki masumiyat ko barqarar rakhunga." Yeah, what he said is that I'll never let these children lose their innocence, because an event of this magnitude, everyone is affected, and it affects everyone in different ways. And hence, the purpose of this particular space is to talk a little bit about it, so that we can place the facts. We can hear Min from those points as well. Now, as I said, the state government has not been able to control the mob. The tribals have asked imposition of the president's rule and demanded the CM's resignation. again, there was a lot of drama and public display yesterday, but that resignation was withdrawn amidst all of the commotion, citing the reason that it wouldn't be appropriate for the CM to discontinue in office at a crucial time like this. The cookies have demanded separate administration and are no longer feeling safe and secure. And they need their own constitutional protection for rights, land, and identity. At least that has been the demand. But given that context, I'd like to now open the floor to Min specifically and just hear from him as to what he thinks are the main challenges and issues based on the history that I've just played back facing Manipur. Min, over to you.
Maya, thank you very much. So I really have very limited knowledge when it comes to the history of Manipur. But what I understand from all the perspective and the narrative peddling that is currently going on, there is a sense of discontent, especially among the Meiteis. They have this very fanciful dream of a glorious, those times of the Maharajas, where they have this idea that the whole state of Manipur belongs to them. Like it was the kingdom of Manipur. But the tribal perspective is neither the Nagas nor the Kukis accept that. The tribal perspective is most of the hill areas govern themselves. They are those regulations and acts from the British time. They were never subjected to the Meitei Maharaja or the Valley Kings, and they were never under the rule of any of the kingdom in the valley, kings in the valley. So that is one of the contributing factor here. That the general in general, the people in Imphal in the valley. What I understand is from all of this narrative that they are peddling at this point, and all of the kind of reaction we have seen from almost all sections of Métis society is they have this idea that the entire state of Manipur, by as it is, belongs to them. That it was the kingdom of Manipur. That is their perspective. That is their understanding, or that is what they have been made to understand. But from the other side, the perspective is that Manipur, as it is right now, the borders, the territory of the state of Manipur as it is, it was only defined by the British. After the Burmese lose the Anglo-Burmese War, the Treaty of Yandabo was signed, and Britain, like the British Empire, took over Assam and Manipur from the Burmese Empire. So, and after the British took over, certain political changes were made for the sake of administrative convenience or whatever reasons they had at that point. And some of the Naga territories were included to be part of the princely state of Manipur. Some of the Kuki territories, especially the southern Manipur, those territories were added to the princely state. And even after being added to the princely state of Manipur, the Maharaja of Manipur never had direct control over those hill people. There is evidence that the Maharaja never had control. If you look at the way the people have settled at this point right now, today, there are no significant Meitei settlements or no historical Meitei villages in the hills, or there are no historical Kuki or Naga settlements in the valley. The line was always there, even though it was not drawn on a map. It was always understood that okay, this part belongs to this is a domain of the Meitei kings. These are the hill, the wild tribes, the headhunting people. So there was this understanding that was always there. Now with the arrival of democracy and the changes in governance and with the developing economy and all of those things, places that were inaccessible those days, like the hills, or those that were undesirable those days, it's accessible now, and with proper facilities and all those places becomes really attractive, and that is one of the main reasons.
But how much do you think are the socio-political and the historical factors contributing to the present state of affairs, or is it something that is entirely new to this place now?
See, it depends. It depends on the government of Manipur how much they want to create, like how many years back they want to go. I mean, it depends on them. Like really, if see, there is it's not denying the fact that there is a large section of Meitei population that actually believes that they are being subjugated and they are being they are under threat, which they are made to believe, because this is what fascists and demagogues they do. What they do is you're under threat. You're gonna, all those kinds of techniques is there in the history book. So that is there in Manipur right now. So that the sense of threat that the Meiteis have right now, not justifiable threats. It's not a threat. It's actually a manufactured threat that the people are made to believe that they are under some kind of they are at the risk of disappearing or whatever nonsense is being peddled at this point. So see, if you want history to be a reason for the conflict, then this conflict would have already occurred many years back. So there is a history. Yes, there are a large section of Meitei civilians or population that are discontent with the with the status of Manipur as it is today, or there is a section of Meiteis who dream of seceding from India, or there is a section of Meiteis who believe that they are under some kind of a threat. So, I mean, it's not for me to actually explain what kind of threat they actually are, because
I would like to turn this towards slightly more concrete grounds of discussion. I believe Manipur has always been occupied by Kukis and Meiteis and Nagas and other people. So, what do you think about? I mean, you have already told us that you have been in a village in Manipur before you eventually had to leave the place and relocate. So, as long as you were here, did you see a deeply rooted grudge for each other in Kukis and Meiteis? I mean, is there grudge present without political motivation? As long as we watch Mehtai Lipun's chief talking to Karan Thapar and other people from similar opinions, I want to know if Meiteis and Kukis would be still fighting if not for politics.
see, hello, can you hear me? Okay, so it's like this. Experiences differ from people to people. There are some people who actually saw their neighbors among the mob that burned their house. There are some people who helped them escape. So experiences differ from people to people. It would be very stupid of me to to try to define the collective mindset of the Meitei population in general. Whether there's a sense of hatred or not, that is something I cannot comment on right now. But the point is, those sense of hatred or whatever grudges that they have against each other, it's there for a reason. And it's see, you have to understand, over the past 5, 7, 8 years, there has been so many so-called Meitei chauvinistic organizations like Arambai Tingmol, Meitei Lipun, and so the moment these organizations started coming in the picture, holding press conference every day in Imphal, these people are indigenous, these are not, these people are, as if they have the authority to do that, which they don't, but at the same time they still did. All this propaganda, this is a result of all of that. So it is fair to assume that there are a lot of Meiteis who actually believe that that their fellow citizens do not belong to Manipur. That is there. So whether some kind of narrative correction will actually help them to change their thinking or not, that we don't know.
Okay, I mean,
so it's for their leaders to get that. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I would like to invite others from Manipur who have joined us. Anyone who can shed some light on this particular aspect, please join us, have a word. We want to know if there is any chance of reconciliation amongst Meiteis and Kukis and everyone, given the political motivation, political instigation is out of the picture.
What do you think is the impact of these armed groups and insurgencies on the security and stability of Manipur? As someone who has lived there and witnessed it firsthand, maybe, not necessarily the insurgencies, but otherwise, what do you think is the impact of this, especially where assault rifles and other things were available? So what do you think? What's your feel around what is happening currently?
See, Manipur has a very long history of problems with insurgency. It is there, it was there, it is there, and it will continue to be there as long as the core issues of why there is insurgency in the first place. So if you talk about the Nagas, why they have a Naga insurgency is their demand for integrating Naga inhabited areas. There is this sense of dissatisfaction thrown together with this, superior Meitei people or whatever their perception is, that is there, and that also is a very very concern. So that is one of the reasons why the Naga insurgency is there. Then the second thing is the Kuki insurgency was born out of necessity when there was these clashes between these NSK and IM and when NSK and IM started attacking Kuki villages, the Kuki villages had to arm themselves. And so see, Naga insurgency and Kuki insurgencies are something which can be easily tackled by actually trying to understand the reason why they are there in the first place. Then there's this the Meitei insurgency, which is a bit difficult because the Meitei insurgency is primarily formed to separate from the Union of India. They want to restore whatever kingdom they believe was there, and that is what they are there for. So that's a bit difficult, I mean, at this point. But with economic development and all kinds of stuff, I think that can also be taken. They can also be tackled. So as far as the challenges of insurgency in Manipur is there. See, insurgency, I cannot comment on Naga areas, what kind of effect or impact it had on their areas, because even though we are neighbors, I do not live in their area, so it would be unfair for me to comment on that. But what I can see is in Kuki areas, yes, they could be, the Kuki insurgencies are mainly a problem for the Kuki people. Like, it's the Kukis that will, if the insurgents are misbehaving, then it's the Kuki people that suffer. So, whatever complications they create are restricted to where the people live, and there was factional clashes occurring between various factions and this and that, and all kinds of, whatever you can expect out of an uncontrolled arms scenario. It is always there, but those things have been curtailed to a very.
What efforts have this government and other stakeholders maybe to address these problems? I'm not talking about the Naga Kuki insurgency problem, because that has been historical. It's manageable by the looks of it. But the Meitei problem specifically, what efforts do you think the government and the stakeholders have put in to address these problems?
The Meitei problem, Meitei insurgency problem, what the government has done or is doing that, I don't know. But one thing I know very clearly is that there was this Meitei insurgent camp in Chandel district in Manipur, which is in the hill areas, and it's surrounded by Kuki villages. So those Kuki villages, they gave intelligence input to the Indian army, and they were chased out of that area. So I mean, if you can add that also to the list of reasons why some section of Meiteis hate the Kukis. So I mean, you can have plus 1, 2, 3. You can add that as well. So see, what the government of India politically they are doing to resolve this insurgency problem in Manipur when it comes to the Meiteis, that I have no idea, because they already have a state which is under their control. They have all the political power that they need. So I don't know what more you can desire. I mean, India can only give so much. So
why do you think has the nature of this unrest taken such a violent, I would say, phase in the recent years, and more so this year? What do you think might be driving that specifically?
To add to that, we all have been frequently listening to this particular accusation by various people that Kukis started the violence in the first place in Churchandpur. And they were the first ones with automatic rifles and all these modern weaponry. So, how do you stand on that? And people from Manipur who have joined us might want to add their reactions at this point. So, how do you want to shed light on this particular aspect as to if Kukis and Nagas were really armed by advanced weaponry, and if they started this situation which has become almost like a civil war, or not almost, has become a civil war?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, first thing is you also need to understand that weapons are not cheap. A single barrel costs, I don't know, 40, 50,000. That is a single. Automatic will cost you so much. So it's not so, just because there is arms trade going on this and that, it's not that everyone can afford to buy automatic, or any group can easily acquire automatic rifles. It's not that. There's a lot of money which is required, and you cannot expect what you call the tribals to have whatever weapons they had has already been seized by the government of India. It's with them. It's under lock and key. Routine audit is going on. So I don't know from which angle they are trying to portray us as having automatic weapons and attacking them first. Because from what I understand is people who went to the rally in Lamka, Chochanpur, what happened was that when they returned from the rally, they were harassed by these Arambai Bengal and all these Mike Lipun people. And I saw also one video where a guy was brutally beaten on the street. And I think that all started somehow the violence escalated from there, and then eventually there was this fake news being spread that Kukis have raped Meitei women in Churchandpur Medical College, and that added more fuel to the fire. And Kukis in Imphal were chased out. Their properties burned, churches burned, all kinds of. It just happened like that.
No, but they constantly advocate that Kukis having poppy cultivation in this hilly and forest areas, they have this money to buy weaponry. So I fail to understand how tribals who have no resources whatsoever to properly process these poppy fields can possibly earn so much to buy automatic rifles and this all ammunition and go on and on and on.
Just a disclaimer, that's hearsay. We're not perpetrating that. That's what is being found, but I think that's what it is.
Okay, let me explain the economics of how this poppy thing works out so that it's easy for all of us to understand. A Kuki farmer, he goes and cultivates a plot of land for poppy. So he will work for the entire cultivating season, be it 7, 8 months, 1 year, however long it takes. And for working for that long period, at the end, what he gets is around 1,20,000 rupees. So he has to sustain himself. So before he gets that 1,20,000 rupees, he borrows money from his friends or from somebody else, from moneylenders, to actually to sustain himself for his food and basic necessities, for his phone recharge, for his TV recharge, for whatever it is, for all basic, for his clothing, for his essentials. So by the time he actually gets that money, the 1,20,000, it's almost spent out. Almost nothing is left with him. Maybe hardly 1,000, 2,000 rupees will be left with him because he's already borrowed that money in advance.
So then you mean to say that Kuki cultivation, the poppy cultivation, which is illegal technically in any part of India, is that something that is currently going on in Manipur? Is that what you're saying?
So see, poppy cultivation is there in Manipur. There are at least 10-15% of the population of Manipur, I don't know, maybe more, engaged in that. It's across all communities. So the cultivators are the Kukis and the Nagas. The people from the valley, the Meiteis, they come and collect the raw materials. They process it in factories in Thobar or in Imphal itself. They process it and it gets sold. Wherever it gets, it has to be sold. So if you understand the logistics of how all this drug business works, you have the cultivator, you have the people who are financing the...
What do you think are the opportunities that are available for tribals as well as non-tribals in Manipur which could help utilize that land, or at least what is the motivation behind the claim for extra land or additional land based on what we've seen pan out. Rather than going into the specifics of what business they would do, I'd rather keep it as to what might be the opportunity that they explore.
Yeah, okay, so to answer your questions, okay, so it's like this. What they would do or what they would not do, that is something I cannot say. But one thing is very clear. The Métis are not tribals. They are not used to living in the hills. They have never lived in the hills. And I don't think they can survive in the hills. It's not so easy just because mountains look beautiful. You can just go and survive there without all those modern facilities. There's a way of surviving in the hills. Even if you look at tribals, the way their leg, the calf, it's really big. You know why? It's because why we have bigger calves is because of years and years of climbing, and we are born that way now because from the time it's in the blood. You need to be from the hills to possess some of the qualities that the hillmen have. That is number one. The Métis are very efficient in the valley. They know what to do. They can be champions in the valley, but I don't think they can actually survive in the hills. It's not so easy. The hill is not a very friendly place to survive. That's number one. And the other thing is, what can government do? So as far as eradicating poppy cultivation or this drug business is concerned, what can government do? That I don't know. But what we want the government to do is to provide us training in different forms of sustainable livelihood, apart, so that poppy can be completely eradicated, or farmers don't have to go through the process of cultivating poppy, or government to introduce some kind of what do you call some possibility of allowing the export of produce from the hills to the setting up all those units, like and then logistics, managing an efficient logistics system. It's not just because you have an orchard that you will have money. It has to reach the market, and in order to reach the market from the farm, you need to have a road. There is no road. That's number one. Then you also need cold storage facilities to store your produce. It runs on electricity. There is no electricity. That's number two. So now it all boils down to, why is there no road? Why is there no electricity? Why is there no development in the hills? Then you cannot ask us, why is there no development? The hill people, including the Nagas, have been treated like a stepchild from a very long time. I'll explain you a very funny scenario. So government of India gives a certain funds to states which are in the border. I don't know what they call it, border fund or whatever it is. So none of the Métis settlements are in the border areas. Border areas mostly inhabited only by the Kukis and the Nagas. But all of the funds that goes towards developing those border villages are spent in the valley, which doesn't share a border with any country. I mean, that is the reality, and that's the funny thing. So, see, it's really difficult for me. So, if you say government has to take initiative to eradicate the poppy and to bring in development and accelerate growth, I think government is already doing that. It's just that whether the government of Manipur is really forgetting that there is also Manipur beyond Imphal, or whether they are accepting that they don't care about the hills. That is there. So
that's brilliantly put. I can understand. I can certainly understand the imbalance of privileges coming out there. What do you think are they doing for basic infrastructure and basic services like education, healthcare? Is that something that is available to people in the hills, or is that also limited to Imphal today?
It's limited to Imphal. There are certain district hospitals. I think Lamka District Hospital is the size is quite decent, but I don't think they have any specialty care or anything. It's just for basic general medicine and all that stuff. So yeah, for every need, for every higher education, proper higher education, for healthcare, for everything, you have to go to Imphal. There's no choice.
And how do you think governments as well as civic society can work together to foster this reconciliation of some sort, or of unity? And I don't want to preach in a sensitive period that we're going through at this stage, but certainly there seems to be something that we ought to do in order to reconcile and bring the different communities together in Manipur. What, in your opinion, and again, all of this is opinion at this stage, it's, and maybe perhaps someone is listening who can take this further, but what do you think is, in your opinion, we can do?
So see, peace, reconciliation, these are all secondary at this point. Security is, for us, the basic requirement is security, that we should not be killed, or our villages should not be burned. As far as the Kuki perspective is concerned, I understand the Métis may have their own perspective, or they may have their own sense of what peace, what they want. But for us, we need security first. And once we feel we are secure, that nobody's going to come and kidnap us or burn our house, then we can sit down and start thinking like, okay, now what to do? So, you see, it's very easy to throw this, to emphasize on peace or unity or reconciliation, but for all of that to happen, people have to be secure in their own homes. A sense of security that the other guy is not going to kill him or her, and even if he tries to kill him or her, he will not be successful. That sense has to prevail first.
You can share further on that. What do you think are the motivations behind people, getting after the 90% non-cultivable land at the stage as well? So, what's your view on the natural resources of Manipur?
The natural resources of Manipur is there. It's not that it's not there. The point is, just because there are natural resources and it will help sustain your economy doesn't give you the right to go and how do I put it? To go and grab it from them. There is due process in the constitution. We have if everyone follows the process and the law, then nobody gets what you call nobody suffers. Everyone is happy. There are resources which the country needs, and I don't think the tribals will in any way prevent the country from accessing those resources. But provided there is a consensus on the way these resources have to be extracted, the way the dividends have to be distributed, and the way the communities who are affected by because of the extraction of these resources are being managed. If those things are carefully handled, then it's always there. It's not just for the cookies; it's for the Métis, for for the whole country, for the country itself. We have so. I don't think the tribals in any way would have a problem with sharing resources.
Brilliant.
See, tribals by nature, yeah. Let me tell you. I'll give you an example. Because of the cultures and the social principles that we have inherited and all those things, tribals by nature are very giving people. And when we have those people in the media throw around this concept that okay, the Métis cannot have access to tribal lands, then it's wrong, because do you remember that Métis were evacuated from Chochanpur, which is a tribal area, even from Moray. So if they don't have access to those lands, how were they evacuated? So it's provided you go and approach them and ask them for land, they will give you, right? You don't go and invade. This is not, I don't know, 15th century or 10th century. You don't go and start burning people's house because you are facing land pressure.
See, we are clear on the fact that this is a politically motivated move, all of it. What I fail to understand is how are people so easy to be manipulated? I mean, okay, it is a long process. First you instigate hatred, then you start making open speeches and whatnot. But it brings me back to my earlier question. What would Métis do with all this forest land and hilly areas? Suppose they get this land, they get access to hilly areas, which Min has already mentioned that they do. That is how they were evacuated. But once they have the access to these lands, what does one think of the potential sustainability for Métis? Now, do we have to take in account the Asian highway that is going on around, or do we have to take the teak woods in the picture? What are we supposed to do with it?
Can I come in?
I would also invite others at this point. If they have anything to add,
yeah.
they are welcome to talk.
Okay.
Poppy has raised
I'll just make I'll just make a very quick point about what Métis will do if they have access to this land. So I don't know what they will do if they have access to this land, but you have to understand that the areas where the cookies inhabit, they are the areas which share border with the with Burma, and the Métis have a sense that they need unhindered access to this international border. You have to understand that when there is movement of militants across the border, it is Kuki villagers who are giving intelligence to the Indian army, and they prevent them, like any kind of let's say insurgent movement or any kind of unacceptable activities taking place. It is the villagers who see those things and give access to intelligence. Now imagine a scenario where the Kuki villages are driven out of those border areas and the Métis where to inhabit. They already have those groups which are already have this idea of seceding from India. So their idea for seceding also gets on a more firmer ground. You get my point?
Okay, we would need a much more secure foundation to that. Of course, we do not ignore the possibilities. Poppy wants to
go. What about Kuki militants?
Dave, you will have your chance. We have given you the mic.
What about Kuki militants?
I'll mute you right away. You do not break the order. Poppy has raised her hand first.
What about Kuki militants? Who are killing my days?
We do.
Yeah, hi Dave.
Hello, Poppy.
If you don't mind, I'll just butt in. Okay, so
no.
Therefore,
Poppy, before you start, I have removed him from the speakers, and no one will break the order, and no one will instill hatred here. We are all here to discuss.
Right.
Let's do that in a civil manner. Poppy, go ahead.
Right.
Make your point.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say that the Kuki militants are under SOO, so he doesn't have to worry. Neither the people, like the Kuki people in general. Like we always have a problem with insurgency in Manipur, not just the Métis, even the Kukis, the Nagas, but we were very happy that they are under SOO finally. And as a civilian, I mean, as somebody who lives there, I can say that the people are very happy. And once you're SOO, then you don't have to, you don't come around things like, oh, the militants are shooting at each other here, they're shooting, they're extorting. All this has gone down, and the place is finally, coming back, slightly getting developed. So we're very happy that they are under SOO. That is one question. And the other question which you were sharing, which you were asking, what if the Métis get to all these natural resources or to the land, what would they do? I would like to go with that with just a speculation, but also it has been going on. I've been reading about it a lot. The three things which comes into my mind, one is with the legalization. Everyone has been pushing for legalizing cannabis, cultivation of cannabis, and our CM is one of the forefront legalization of cannabis, and there are a few people who has vested interest in taking the hills on a leash, because the climate in Manipur is very conducive for growing cannabis. You don't have to work so hard; it just grow. You just throw the seed there and it just grow. So
Wait. Poppy. Did you just say that the CM of Manipur, N. Biren Singh,
yes,
advocates cannabis?
legalization of cannabis. Yes, that is
Okay.
what I know. Yeah, legalization of cultivating cannabis in a controlled manner. So, and the second thing is, of course, the oil and natural gas.
So they want it, forgive my interruption, but do they want this for exports, industrial use, or personal consumption as in retail?
Yes, it is more for a medical purpose. Like the vested parties, the interest party, which I know of, is they are into pharmaceutical farm. They are pharmaceutical farms. So it's more for a CBD oil for a medical purpose. And point number two was the oil and natural gas resources, which was being discovered in Tamenglong and Churichandpur, which is about 1,220 square miles, kilometers. So that is also one thing. The privatization in case if they, but then again, it cannot be given to anybody just like that, because these are all tribal lands. So that cannot be privatized. And number three would probably be what our previous former prime ministers have said, look east. So now it is called Act East, which is where we are trying to compete with our other countries like China by investing in Northeast. And More is a town which is in the other, what do we call this? The Silk Route for this, which is connecting Myanmar, and from Myanmar to, so all these international rail lines and all this planning are going through all these hill areas. So all the development, natural resources which has been recently discovered are all in the hill areas. I'm not saying that it is, we should not be sharing it, but this could be probably one of the, reason why there's so much of vested interest on the tribal lands. Not accusing anybody. This is that much I can understand.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Poppy. Min, any last few words from your side? I'll just do a quick roundup before we close.
Yeah. So my my concluding statement is that people need security. So security comes first. Then there's this other thing that if there are resources in the hills and you want those resources, there is a way of doing things. You don't go around stealing and grabbing from people. You follow due process. You get into an agreement with the people who are living there. There has to be a way of sharing those resources, and it's there for everyone. It should be a unifying factor. It should not be the reason why you go and kill other people. Resources have to be a unifying factor for us. But in this case, throwing around myths of someone being indigenous or not, so that you can justify grabbing other people's land, nobody is going to buy that. Maybe some hardcore fanatic or fascist may buy it, but the point is, in a civilized society, nobody will buy that. That's the thing. And yeah, so look east or act east policy, whatever the hype is, see, nothing is going to happen if violence continues like this. Nothing is, regardless of act east or do east or whatever east you call it, nothing is going to happen. So with the expectation that there is going to be development in the hills because of act east, now you start murdering people, then there will be no act east. Forget it. I mean,
absolutely, man. That message is understood. I think nothing can be achieved over dead bodies, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
there is a solution for everything, and there is a way out. But this may not be the way. This is not the way, in fact. Okay.
Hi, Yesh, and all your audience. Min, Min, and probably people who are from Northeast. I just want to understand one thing in background. What were the promises, or what were the things which made Manipuri people to select the current government? I mean, I just want to understand, because I think I didn't have much of history there. But what changed this regime towards the current government? Because ever since this government has come in, I think there are quite a few upheavals, and like there's all this, what we're talking about, the Metis cookie clashes, we're talking about minerals, resources, and all those things. So what are the promises based on which the current government came here? Can anybody enlighten on that point? Just to correlate the things, just to understand it better.
So, see, northeastern states in general do not have ideology. If there's a BJP government in Delhi, then it just carries the northeastern states with it. So, Biren himself was a Congress guy. He was not a BJP guy. So, his political career started from Congress. So, what did he promise the people? That I don't know. But what was his past? If you ask me about his history, then he did have this history of links to PLA, which is the Metis separatist groups. And he did own a newspaper which published some articles concerning, I don't know, anti-national, or he was charged for sedition in the past. So you can pretty much understand his background, that this the guy is really a Metis chauvinist, if you call it. Like he feels like for some reason, he believes that the Metis people are under some kind of threat. I don't know from whom, and maybe he feels like he is the guy to protect them or to defend them against aggressors. Even yesterday on Twitter, he mentioned that. So promises, in Northeast, political parties, whichever state they may be, it doesn't matter. If the Delhi is Congress, then they all mostly carry the whole state, the whole region. So politics in Northeast is like that, no ideology.
No, to that min, as far as I remember, and might Dev, I'll call you Dev, as it is your last name seems to be. So as I seem to be slightly converging with Dev here, what I would be interested to know is, as the last elections, BJP didn't really win the elections, but they somehow figured out a way to form government. So the point is, there must have been some things once they came to power, or once they were right on the verge to becoming on the power. What did they actually do so the people would be lured towards them? I mean, there must be something that people should be feeling inclined, okay, that this government is for us.
That exactly is my point, actually. That exactly is what I want to know. I mean, I know that they didn't have history in Northeast, but I mean, what made them to open an account in Northeast, and that in such a huge way. And ever since this has happened, like a lot of collateral things have happened there. I mean, was there a planned activity, or like when this was found that Min was talking about oil and natural gas. So was it like after post that okay, we need to have this state rule maybe to exploit it for the growth or whatever?
I think
whatever
it's safe to assume that none of that information would be available to us at this point. Perhaps it was, but maybe we don't have the diversity in this panel to confirm that, Divyak. So we'll have to probably rely on public sources, as in published sources as well, to find that out. But anything more for people to add? Yash, Poppy, Divyak, Min, any more to add before we close?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, as far as the vote bank is, also it is very easy to since the people, a majority, at least let's say majority of the people are uneducated, they don't know how to question. All they know is that during the vote, during it's time for vote, if somebody says, oh, you'll get this, you'll get that, they just tend to get sway. So it's very easy for them. It's very easy for people to manipulate, mainly because we are still very uneducated. And again, for them, it's like if you go and give them for one vote, if you give them 500 rupees, that was very good for them, because they never get anything apart from that from the government or anything, anyone else. So it's like you go and cast this person, you get 500 bucks. So it was very easy to sway the people, especially like in the remote places, right? And there also was an article that come out that one of the insurgency groups who helped in getting the BJP's getting the the elections. I think it was very much circulated in Twitters, and then even the Congress were trying to file some cases regarding this. So it was, most of the places are the people are very easy to manipulate when it comes to vote. I don't know, I can't speak about the valley because I've never voted there, but I do vote in the hills, so I know how it works. It is not exactly like this leader is doing really well. We've been in my village, we have been voting the same person for almost how many 4 consecutive what do you call this 4 consecutive terms, and he has been promising that he'll give black topping and all this. But even though if we don't get it, the people forget it as soon as when it is time for them to for them to vote, because they get some 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, and then they go and cast. So the people are still very uneducated. It's very easy to sway is all I can say.
Okay, thank you, Poppy. For those who are listening to us, it is clear that from the 60 days of Manipur unrest, there's a lot of blame game that's happening. It's not clear as to who is in the eye of the storm, but people are paying the price. Innocent people, women, children, and those who are in the camps, those whose houses have been ransacked, rapes, and human rights violation as well. A number of things that we don't want, and we don't want to deliberate in our normal lives. But it seems as though there is some deliberated, coordinated attacks that's happening on the ethnic groups. And with the death numbers rising, with the number of days that have been passed without any mention of what is going on from the Prime Minister, I remain concerned as a citizen of India. The conflict has also taken a communal color, and therefore it rides on public opinion at the stage as to what is not. It's very difficult in the face of a propaganda machine to separate the truth from what is fake at this point. So I just say that as something that we can, as a minimum, do is to make ourselves aware of what is going on the ground, as well as what are other opinions at the stage before forming ours, and before spreading the hate or spreading what are supposed to be lies at the stage, given the fact that none of this is confirmed, and there are 2 factions of people who are involved in this, trying to make some sense of this matter. I just say that the people in power, I'll appeal to the people in power that necropolis is not the way out, as in the politics of the dead is not the way out. And if there is some things that can be done, it could be a very clear concerted efforts on dialogue. It is not going to be a one-off thing, a one shot that we give to these dialogues. It needs to be a continuous process. But for that to happen, as Min was pointing out, security is of the prime importance. If everyone feels safe and secure, then their mind is free to think about solutions, options, ways to work together. But without that security, I think there is the constant fear factor. And under fear, we always often end up doing mistakes. So with that in mind, I really wish my heart goes out to the people of Manipur. It is probably one of the ghastly events that I have seen in my adult life as a part of India. And I really hope that there is some sense that prevails in all the commotion that is going on, and there is peace in the valley as well as peace in the hills, and peace in my state, be it Manipur, be it any other state in India. I don't want this to be an example of what is then applied across India. It will just hurt us more. And who is it going to help in the end? So I do feel that I appeal to the PM of the nation. He's the parent of the nation, and he has to support the people to unravel these problems. So I do appeal to him to take moral responsibility and to make sure that he does right whatever this government does. If not, then there needs to be a change, and someone else who can solve the problem, in the first instance the president, needs to be reinstated. With those words, I'd like to draw close to this. I really thank everyone who has been here listening to us and also contributing, Poppy, Min, Yash, Divyak, who have come in and spoken today. We'll be here next week discussing another topic. If you want to join, please do. It could be about Manipur, it could be about other current affairs and political debates that we have. Thank you, good night, and good luck. Jai Hind.
Special mention to Divya. Poppy, please turn off your mic. My special mention to thank Dev for his question. It really brought another spectrum of light. For those who understand Hindi, आखिर क्या देख के लोगों ने ये सरकार चुनी थी was Dev's question. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Yash. Thank you, everyone.
Yash Srivastav and Min. Yash and Min, I'll invite you if you can